With the NFL season officially over after an incredible Super Bowl, I thought it would be a good time to look back and reflect on this past season and rank my top 10 quarterbacks of this season. These rankings are strictly based on performances this year, so nothing a player did last year matters, and nothing I think is going to happen in the future has any impact on these rankings. I will talk about these players' past seasons so I can give more of a career picture on these guys, but it doesn't have any impact on the rankings. If you do enjoy this video, please take a moment to like and subscribe. It really does go a long way to supporting my channel, as it does take a lot of time and effort into making these videos. So let's dive right into the rankings here, beginning at number 10, where I have Tom Brady of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who recently announced his retirement. So congratulations, Tom Brady, one of the greatest players of all time, no doubt. But this season did not go according to plan for what many people expected to be a top team and compete for a Super Bowl. Many of the Bucs' issues this season were out of Brady's hands, and I get it, but he did not perform at the level we're used to seeing. He still had the same arm, and his accuracy wasn't as pinpoint as it has been, but Brady still showcased those veteran instincts, whether it was reading coverages or manipulating linebackers with his eyes. He still had all of that. What was really missing for Brady was the consistency in which he showcased those traits. Watching the Bucs season over again, it's tough to find a string of games in which he played very well. It was more a week here, a week there, a quarter here, a quarter there. Brady was still playing at a fairly high level this season, just not quite as well as we're all used to seeing, so he'll fall here at number 10. Number 9 is Aaron Rodgers. A lot of similar things to say about Rodgers and Brady. Of course, Rodgers was coming off of the back-to-back MVPs and NFC Championship appearances. He really didn't live up to that, and similar to Brady, everything wasn't in Rodgers' hands. The receiver room for the first half of the year was a mess, and you could say the same thing about the defense, but for really the whole year. But even taking all that stuff away, Rodgers just isn't an MVP caliber player anymore. The turnovers were way up, the big time throws were down. It's almost impossible to play as well as he did the past 2 seasons, so everything here isn't all negative, but he was super inconsistent week to week, and quite honestly, there weren't those vintage Rodgers elite moments or games. So interested here to see what he does in the offseason, but Rodgers is going to come in at number 9. Number 8 is one of the more intriguing players, which is going to be Trevor Lawrence. And this is a great example of how I do these rankings, because if I'm projecting into next year, I'm probably ranking Lawrence a lot higher than this. But he did get off to quite the rough start. The first 8 or so weeks were pretty rough, but after that, for whatever reason, he turned into vintage Trevor Lawrence. He looked much more comfortable in the offense, was able to make much better decisions and better reads. The game really seemed to slow down for Lawrence, which is something we all hoped for and expected to see, but actually watching Lawrence down the stretch was pretty incredible. I don't think it's long before his name is brought up in the top 5 quarterback debate, but as of right now, this season, Lawrence at number 8 with a ton of room to grow. Number 7 on the list, I have Kirk Cousins, who continues to be disrespected and underrated in this league. And it's mostly by more casual fans who will see his primetime record or his playoff record, so I get it. But Cousins is a legit quarterback and played like it this season. I really like his playing structure and the consistency in which he plays with. Cousins isn't some freak athlete with high-end traits, but he's the classic system quarterback. He's the type of player where you know what you're getting, and that has a lot of value in this league. Specifically this year, Cousins kind of wrote off the Vikings' surrounding situation with Jefferson, Thielen, Hawkinson, and Dalvin Cook. This is a pretty loaded offense, but I was pretty impressed with Cousins playing the pocket and making some big plays, so I'm a little higher on Cousins. He has his limitations, but I was impressed this season. Number 6 here is the comeback player of the year, Geno Smith, who nobody expected was going to be even marginally good this season. I was so impressed with Smith this season and what he had to offer from a big play perspective. He was 5th in the league in big time throws, but did have a ton of turnover luck. Smith was tied for the league lead in turnover-worthy plays with Josh Allen, so in that department, Smith has some serious work to do. And yeah, he tailed off quite a bit towards the end of the year, but for Geno to play this well with this surrounding core is pretty incredible. I really struggled to rank Geno because he did tail off so much at the end of the year, but it's hard to argue with the way he started the year and just the ridiculous throws he showcased this season. Before we get into the top half of the rankings, I do want to mention 2 honorable mentions. Both of these guys had tremendous seasons when they were healthy, but it's hard to rank guys who missed a significant chunk of the year alongside players who played the whole year. So Tua Tagovailoa and Lamar Jackson are my 2 honorable mentions, so you could easily make the case should be on this list. Both guys were playing at top 5 levels before injury, and specifically with Tua, I hope he recovers from all the head injuries and continues to be the same player he was pre-injury. Lamar was having an incredible season, and he absolutely deserves that next contract, as he probably would have cracked my top 5 if he would have stayed healthy. Moving on from these guys, on to number 5 is Justin Herbert. I will say Herbert had a very down year compared to last year, but he still played at a very high level. Not only were the stats way down, but he looked much more conservative and not as confident as in previous years. Herbert had one of the lowest average depth of targets in the NFL, which is quite strange because he has an absolute cannon for an arm, but it just didn't really seem like he used it all that often. There were definitely still those really high-end games for Herbert, though. There were plenty of times where he showcased his tools to extend plays or make big-time throws down the field, maybe just not quite as often or consistent as in previous years. Still had a very, very good season, so he'll end up here at number 5. Number 4 is Josh Allen. Overall, I struggled to rank Allen with these next set of guys, so if you have him higher, I'm not going to blame you. His highs were pretty incredible this season. He led the league in big-time throws, showcased rare pocket manipulation, and his mobility was on full display. Allen had a ton of games where he just totally took over and looked like he was playing on a different level. It's really just the mistakes that keep him from rising any higher on this list. He has way too many effort balls and sporadic misses. And look, I get it. You take the good with the bad with Allen. There's so much good, you just kind of accept the mistakes, which I understand, and that's why he's number 4 on my list. But some may argue for him to be higher, so that's really my reasoning for him here at number 4. Number 3 is Jalen Hurts, who truly broke out this year into a top-level quarterback. Hurts dominated from pretty much week 1 this year and never looked back. What he does not only as a passer, but his skill set as a runner makes him unique and that much more dangerous. I really, really liked Hurts. He showed up big time in the Super Bowl and played one of the best quarterbacked games this year, despite the loss, of course. There's just so many positive things to say about him. He maybe doesn't have the arm of Josh Allen, so naturally all the big-time throws aren't there, but he took great care of the ball and still had some of those high upside plays in the passing game. Number 2 here is Joe Burrow, one of my personal favorite players. He continues to be just so consistent week in and week out. He has so many ridiculous wow throws. He's so poised and relaxed in seemingly every moment. I said this before, but it's unfortunate Burrow plays in the AFC and in the same league as Mahomes, because now for 2 years, he's played like an MVP. Burrow also gets much stronger as the year goes on. This year, the Bengals got out to a bit of a rocky start, and the Bengals gave more offensive control to Burrow, and all of a sudden, he takes over and just balls out the last 12 games of the year. He's also got really bad turnover luck for whatever reason. He only had 17 turnover-worthy plays, but he had 14 interceptions. Those ratios are almost impossible and are not at all reflective of how he takes care of the ball. He always makes the right decisions, and he doesn't sacrifice any of the big plays down the field. Number 1, no surprise here, Patrick Mahomes, one of the more dominant seasons I can remember for several reasons. For one, he's the MVP of the league. He led the league in passing yards, led the league in touchdowns, and very much so limited his turnovers. He played a truly dominant postseason and played a fantastic Super Bowl, winning the Super Bowl MVP. A lot of people are asking the question of where he ranks all time, and it's an interesting one because we're so used to Mahomes playing at this level, and I don't know if we realize how great of a season this truly was. This was one of the greatest seasons of all time by a quarterback, and yet it all seems so natural. Really nothing negative to say here about him. He's the best quarterback in football and the best player in football. So let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. I would love to hear your opinion and where you would rank these guys, if you would move anybody up, anybody down, or if I didn't even mention anybody that should be on this list. Like and subscribe. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video.